Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Quran in English Basics for Beginners. We just left the previous episode on this verse, and I thought before we continue with verse number 106, I just want to summarize a very important point here. The past few verses tell us that everything in nature is a sign or it is proof and evidence that God exists. People ask, what is the proof that God exists? So this beautiful chapter tells us to look at nature and ask yourself the question, how did this come into existence? So God most merciful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, gives us various examples. He asks, the rain is for the benefit of mankind. Who created the rain? The cattle are for the benefit of mankind. Who created the cattle? The horses, the donkeys, the mule are for the benefit of mankind. Who created the horses, the donkeys, the mules, and the camels, and so on? The mountains, who created the mountains? The rivers, who created the rivers? The oceans, who created the oceans, and so on. So similarly, we need to just understand very briefly what is a sign. A sign is simply a evidence that shows that God exists. And let's just give you a simple example, right? So we living in South Africa, and for us on the African continent, we love our wildlife, right? And when you go on the wildlife safaris, whether you go to the Kalahari Desert or you go to the Okavango Delta or the plains of the Serengeti or the Masai Mara, then you will normally have scouts, the rangers who will go with you, the safari scouts. And some of them are absolutely amazing experts in hunting. So what they would do is as follows. In Afrikaans, we refer to a sign which is called a spoor, right? We all know what is a spoor. Spoor is an Afrikaans word which tells you if there's a shape there. So they will look at a shape like this, and they'll be able to tell you that if this shape is a lion, or is it a hyena, or is it a cheetah or a leopard? A spoor, an expert, someone with expert eyes will be able to tell you. They'll be able to tell you, okay, this sign here tells you that it is an elephant, right? Or something like this. They'll tell you, okay, this is a zebra, or it could be a horse, or it could be a mule. So depending on the shape that they see in the sand, they will be able to tell you by the spoor. The spoor is the sign. They'll be able to tell you, yes, that's a lion, that's an elephant, that's a zebra. Right? And by the depth, how deep it is, they will say, yes, this was here 2 hours ago, or this was here an hour ago, or no, this is an old sign, was yesterday. This is an old sign, right? So there's a lot of information that the sign can give you. But the important thing to remember about the sign, firstly, it is evidence, clear scientific evidence and proof that that thing exists. Because someone and something has created that sign, someone has made that mark. So first thing, it is an evidence that that thing exists. Secondly, it is evidence of something you have not yet seen. You haven't seen it. You haven't seen the lion, but the shape tells you, okay, a lion came past here. You haven't seen the elephant, but the shape will tell you, yes, an elephant came past here. You haven't seen the zebra or the zebra, but the shape tells you, yes, a zebra was here recently. So it is telling you something about the unseen, what you haven't seen with your eyes. So firstly, it's giving you evidence or proof about the animal. Secondly, it's telling you the shape or design, what kind of animal it is. Right? Are we clear on that? That is the importance of a sign in nature. Similarly, a sign in nature. First, let's look at a sign. So the man you follow the safari guide, and he tells you, okay, I see some signs on the ground. That signs tell me that there's a lion. Not only a lion, but it is a male lion, based on the size of the size of the spoor and the depth, how deep it is, because that's a very heavy animal. So I'm telling you that is a male lion. So he said, okay. Then he also says, okay, there's other signs around it that tell me that there's a buffalo, but I also know that there's two buffaloes. One is a mother. She is injured because she is limping and she's going with her calf. So, and they are an hour apart. So the lion is following the buffalo and the calf. So this spoor is the evidence or sign. Let's see, is this true? So we all keep quiet. We all say shh, 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 shh. All right, let's start following. And as we walk slowly through the jungle, an hour later, is what the safari guide predicted. We see in the distance that very same lion, and yes, it is a male lion, and yes, it is busy eating the mother buffalo, and the baby calf is lying dead on the side. So exactly what the science showed. The science showed that yes, there was a lion and there was a buffalo, and the spur guide told us exactly. So even though we did not see the lion with our eyes, we did not see the buffalo with our eyes, but the sign told us that there's a lion eating a buffalo, and it worked out to be true. Are we clear on that? Similarly, so it's important to understand that the sign is evidence. Similarly, it tells you about the unseen. A product is a sign of proof of the factory. I'm going to say that again. A product of an item is a sign of proof of the factory. For example, if you see a BMW on the road, are you going to say the BMW assembled itself? No. The BMW is a spur. The BMW is a sign. It is a sign, it is proof that someone manufactured it. I was clear on that. The BMW did not create itself. So when you see a BMW, the BMW is proof of a factory in Germany that exists. But you haven't seen the factory, but you can measure the BMW, you can weigh, you can do all types of scientific investigations on it, and the BMW will say, okay, this is proof that a factory exists. I was clear on that. Similarly, if you see a bicycle is proof that someone assembled the bicycle. The bicycle did not assemble itself. When you see a laptop, the laptop is proof that somebody, a factory, has assembled that laptop. The laptop did not assemble itself. So when you see the product, you see the laptop, or you see a TV, or you see a cell phone, that product is evidence or proof of the existence of a factory. Similarly, phone is existence factory. Now, human beings, why do we get confused? Similarly with human beings, when you see a human being is proof or evidence that someone assembled the human being and created it. Who did that? It is God. So when you see a human being is proof, is a sign that God exists. Very simple, very straightforward. Yet some people say, no, God doesn't exist. So how did a human being create itself? But we say that a phone cannot create itself. We are saying a laptop cannot create itself. Even a cup of coffee cannot make itself. A bicycle cannot create itself. So how can a human being create itself? Did a human being make its own lungs and its own 30 trillion cells and its own brain? So Asablith man say in the same way that a spur in the ground on the plains of the Kalahari or the Okavango Delta or this Masai Mara, the spur tells us about the lion. The spur is an evidence that the lion exists, although we haven't seen the lion. Similarly, a human being is evidence that God exists. And the Quran, this particular chapter, the bee tells us the bee is evidence that God exists, right? And the mountain is evidence that God exists, and the rain is evidence that God exists, and the cattle and the horses and the mules, everything in nature points to the existence of God. But yet, despite that, there are some those who believe not in the science of Allah. They are the ones that forge falsehood. It is they who deny. That is, they who lie. They deny the signs of God. They can see it with their own eyes, yet they do not want to believe. You walk away with such people with peace, with salams. To you be your way, to me be my way. On the day of judgment, we will see who is wrong and who is right. Very simple. No need to argue and debate with some people. All you have to do is share the knowledge with them with kindness, with hikmah, with wisdom, and with beautiful preaching. No need to go into long, long debates. Just simply say, this is the evidence, this is the truth. Now the onus is on you whether you want to believe or you don't want to believe. If you believe, then it is for the benefit of your soul and your benefit of your soul. Whereas if you don't believe, you are harming your own soul. and it's guaranteed that every single human being will be gathered on the day of judgment. And on that day, God, most merciful, the Creator, Supreme Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, will decide between the various people who will be debating, and Allah is going to reveal the truth. And people will then see that the Supreme Creator is one. God is one. La ilaha illallah. So those who believed in the formula La ilaha illallah, they are the ones who will will be rewarded with paradise and with a life of bliss in eternity. Whereas those who did not believe, or who had a wrong understanding of God, or who associated partners with the one true God, they are the ones who will have an eternity of misery. Straightforward. Look after yourself. May all that is good for you come to in abundance. As a answer, let's use our brain. Don't allow the devil or Satan or Shaitan to put poison in our brain and to confuse our thinking. It is very simple, very straightforward. As long as you can count to one, that's all you need in life. As long as you can count to one, you say La ilaha illallah. God is one. Don't say God is 2 or 3 or 10. No. If anyone asks you about God, just pick up one finger. Just say God is one. That's all you need to do. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillah.